Pennsylvania Republicans, by the way, they try to disenfranchise our service members who are serving so tirelessly
Okay.
overseas. They try to disqualify our overseas Americans as well. They try to purge voters from the rolls. They are doing this to sow confusion and uncertainty. They
Okay.
want Americans to doubt the integrity of the voting system.
Well, we are in the last hours before election day in the US presidential election. The hours are moving, I don't know, slowly or like lightning, depending on your point of view. So much happening, so much at stake. Harris, well, campaigning right here in Pennsylvania. Donald Trump is going to be in Pennsylvania too, then heading off to North Carolina and to the state of Michigan, another one of those vital battleground states. We've had a lot of early voting in this election. More than 76 million votes have already been cast. Let's talk now to a couple of strategists on either side of the line. First of all, welcome to the program, Lindy Lee, who's a member of the Democratic National Committee and worked on Joe Biden's 2020 campaign. Lindy, welcome to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's lovely to have you here. And a big welcome to Chris Licata, who's a Republican strategist and lobbyist. Hello to you, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
And thank you for joining us. Let me ask you both of you, first of all, if I may. Lindy, are you confident about the result of this election for Kamala Harris? And if you are, what do you know that nobody else does?
I think the new vibe is nauseously optimistic. We all saw the shock Iowa poll over the weekend, which has Harris up over Trump by 3 points in ruby red Iowa. So that was an earthquake, and it definitely jolted the campaign and the electoral landscape. And she is going to be in 5 different places today. I'm actually going to be joining her tonight in Philadelphia, right down the street in front of the Art Museum. The momentum has definitely shifted. Polls are tightening, but it's looking more increasingly likely that she's going to hold on to the blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Things are also looking good throughout the Sun Belt, including in Georgia.
Yeah.
So I am definitely optimistic, and I'm going to be with her Tuesday through Thursday. I do want to say that the campaign is not anticipating a decisive victory either way on election night. I think we are all kind of expecting an intense legal battle, and that we might not know the winner until Saturday or beyond.
Right, but you tell me you are confident. You tell me the polls, which show it's neck and neck. You can't call a winner. You're suggesting that they've got it wrong. Why do you believe that, Lindy?
I don't think the polls are getting it wrong per se. I do think there's been an element of hurting. A lot of pollsters on kind of uneasy or unwilling to stick their neck out. But I do want to say that this is essentially a jump ball contest. It could go either way.
Right.
It's extremely close. So it could either be a landslide, because bear in mind that a 2 to 3 percentage could mean a landslide or not. So
Yes.
at this point, it really could come down to those last few thousand voters in Pennsylvania, where I am right now. Those last tens of thousands of voters in Pennsylvania, they're going to decide the next occupant of the White House.
Okay. So when you say you are confident, you're really telling me that you're optimistic, that you are
I'm
hopeful. And it's like,
nauseously optimistic is a new party line,
oh,
as Senator
okay,
Amy
I get that.
Klobuchar said.
All right, Chris Licata on the Republican side. Do you feel sick with optimism at the way this race is going?
Definitely not sick with optimism, but I appreciate the question. No, I mean we are cautiously optimistic, yes, but I think the polls are definitely right on a lot of this, and I mean they can cite Iowa, we can cite New Hampshire.
Yeah.
This is like she said, it is a jump ball, but I'm not worried about the Bible Belt. I'm not worried about the Sun Belt. It comes down to that blue wall.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that even if it is a terrible night for Donald Trump, but then we squeeze out New Hampshire, well, he wins. Even if he loses 2 of those 3 blue wall states.
Yeah.
Maybe he loses Pennsylvania, maybe he loses Michigan, but he wins Wisconsin. He wins, right? So the avenues to victory there are so many more avenues to victory for Trump than there are for Harris. Harris has to hold on to the entire blue wall. She has to hold on to her base. She has to hold on to to New Hampshire. And yes, she can afford to lose the Bible Belt and the Sun Belt.
Mm.
But it would be a very, very close election either way. Now, I want to say something really important here, which is this idea that the DNC and the Democrats overall keep promulgating that this election will not be known on election day
Right.
is fundamentally dangerous. It is fundamentally not okay that we are not going to know the election results on election night. And the Democrats seem to be whistling past the graveyard and completely okay with this
Right.
that we're going to, just be a-okay, dragging this out a week. Um, uh, and that there's going to be an intense legal battle and all of this.
Yes.
Elections used to be decided on election night. Uh, win or lose, I hope that this election is decided on election night. The American people need this election to be decided decisively on election night, and there needs to be a concession by the losing party.
Okay, let me
May I
understand what you
say
just said.
something, please?
Lindy,
May I
yeah.
respond to that?
Yeah, do.
Okay, well, that is just factually inaccurate. Here in Pennsylvania, my home state where I've been all my life, the Pennsylvania Republicans were presented with every opportunity to amend legislation allowing Pennsylvania elected officials to count ballots before 7 p.m. But unfortunately, Republicans in the House refuse. They outright refuse because they want to sow confusion and uncertainty. They want to prolong the process to give Trump an easy way to say that the election was stolen. He's already paving the way to say that if he loses. The only acceptable outcome for him is one in which he wins. So this is, I'm sorry, with all due respect, what you just did was gaslighting because Republicans made it this way. They made it so elected officials couldn't count, election officials couldn't even open the ballots prior to 7 p.m. when the
Yeah.
polls closed in Pennsylvania. So there's just no way that they can count all the ballots in Pennsylvania that night.
Okay,
And
I do want to get Chris. I do want to get
Trump is the
Lindy.
one out
Lindy,
there.
Lindy, forgive me. I do want to get Chris's response to that point. Chris, so there's the argument that the Republicans who run the process of counting the votes in here, right here in the state of Pennsylvania, they've stopped the business of counting until election day. On that basis, you can't expect necessarily to get a result on the night. What do you say to that?
Well, and again, this comes down to, state by state law that whether, she wants to say that the Republicans in Pennsylvania are the ones blocking that law from moving forward. Look, I'm from the great state of Florida. All right, the sovereign independent Republican state of
Hmm.
Florida. But down here we have election integrity laws. We
Yeah,
we count all of the mail-ins prior to.
sure.
We will have results in Florida by 8 9 p.m. We will know who won this state.
It
We've
doesn't
gone through
matter
this.
what which way Florida
Furthermore,
goes.
if I may, all right. Furthermore, is that we are very very active as Floridians in promoting that policy around the
Hmm.
country in organizations like ALEC, which is an association of legislative. It's a legislative conference of all the states. So
Yeah.
so promoting state laws like this is something Republicans have done quite
Okay.
consistently.
Okay,
And
Chris. Chris, we're
you
talking.
can
Yeah,
argue
I do
that
understand.
Pennsylvania is not doing it. I don't know the internal legislative argument inside of Pennsylvania, but I know Republicans as a whole have promoted this line and said that the Florida law, the
Hmm.
way Florida does this, is the way every state should do this.
Okay, that's an argument in principle. I have to move on, but just briefly, just for clarity. Lindy made a point about the state of Pennsylvania, absolutely crucial state. It's where we're sitting right now. If the fact is that the counting can't start until election day, then surely the fact is you can't count on getting a result, which you say absolutely has to happen.
Yeah, I do say it absolutely has to happen for the sake of
But
the
it
country,
can't by, sure,
for the
that's
sake
an argument of
of
principle. But Lindy Lee
Physically
is telling us that it may
impossible.
not be possible.
well, why was it possible? Why was it possible in all previous elections? Why,
Because we didn't have
what?
substantial mail-in voting prior to the pandemic. It's just fact. And notice how you never actually addressed my actual point, which is that it's just impossible to count those millions of ballots, those hundreds of thousands of mail-in
Okay.
ballots. And Pennsylvania Republicans, by the way, they try to disenfranchise our service members who are serving so tirelessly
Okay.
overseas. They try to disqualify our overseas Americans as well. They try to purge voters from the rolls. They are doing this to sow confusion and uncertainty. They
Okay.
want Americans to doubt the integrity of the voting system. And
All right,
regardless of what
Lindy.
Alex
Okay,
says,
indeed, indeed. I think we get a very clear idea of where you're both coming from, and I think those listening in, I think they will make their own mind up about where they stand on what they've heard. These very contrasting pieces of evidence from both of you. For now, Lindy Lee for the Democrats, and Chris Liccardo. Thank you both of you for joining us on the program.